of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the Devil Radio Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Here is your host, Mike Crute.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, a Two-Fer Tuesday edition. Both Devils in-house. How you doing, Dominic?
Hey, Crudy, I am awesome. Evan on the board, our fair audience. Great to be back, man. All fired up and ready to go. What's been going on since I've been gone?
You know, we had such fine co-host in your absence. The audience is like, Dom was gone?
Come on. Well, thank you for all those fine folks who stepped in to fill the breach.
I don't want to forget anyone, but William Walter yesterday, someone just rode by in a golf cart. I didn't know you could ride golf carts on the sidewalks here in Madison, but there he goes. William Walter, singular, yesterday, from our Wisconsin Revolution. We had James Santel on Friday. I had, who else? We had
Rothschild?
Yeah, Batman.
Yeah, nice.
A lot of helpers, a lot of co-devils, but it's always good to have you back where you belong, Tom, in a undisclosed location, off Brady Street somewhere.
Awesome, man. Great to be back.
Well, Dom, while you were gone, it was just as bad as it ever was. You missed nothing, absolutely nothing.
So more of the same.
More of the same. Let's start with perhaps the most important race in America, Dom, the Wisconsin Supreme Court race. And before we can talk about the race itself, I think we've got to talk about, why it potentially matters. Why does a seat on the Wisconsin Supreme Court matter? Why is this potentially one of the most important races in America, Dom? Well, theoretically, it's cases like the one before it today. The Wisconsin Supreme Court, in its current makeup, which is 4-3 conservative, is hearing a case. And the ruling in this case could really affect all sorts of different ways that medical care is administered in the great state of Wisconsin. And I'm already ready to make a bold prediction right from the top here, Dom. Don't like doing math on the radio, but here's the outcome. I already know the outcome. I haven't even read all of the article yet. I'll share some with you, our fair audience. But here's the outcome of the case. Here's the vote total. 4-3. That will be the ruling. 4-3.
I disagree, Crudy. And I have read the article, and I say this will be a unanimous vote.
Oh, you're so wrong. Perhaps more wrong than you've ever been.
I don't know, man. I don't know. And I'll tell you why.
Unanimous. Please do.
Well, let's get into it. I have my sources, I have my facts, I have my reasons, Crudy. So let's jump in, shall we?
Oh, please do.
Corey has reporting at the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. The Wisconsin Supreme Court is deciding whether a local hospital, should have been forced to give a patient ivermectin to treat COVID-19, a ruling that will have implications on how the court can intervene in decisions of healthcare providers. Supreme Court heard oral arguments in the case of Gahl, G-A-H-L, versus Aurora Health on Tuesday. When Alan Gahl's uncle, John Zingsheim, was put on a ventilator... was put on a ventilator in October of 2021 due to complications from COVID-19. He got a prescription for ivermectin from a doctor not associated with Aurora Medical Center Summit, where his uncle was hospitalized. When doctors at Aurora refused to provide and administer the drug, Gahl sued. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration has not approved the use of ivermectin to prevent or treat COVID-19 infections and has warned users about its potential risks to those who are infected. The Waukesha County Circuit Court ordered the hospital to give Zingsheim the ivermectin, but then the judge revised his order saying Gahl would have to supply the drug and a doctor to administer it, according to Wisconsin Public Radio. The case then went to the Court of Appeals District 2, where the majority concluded the court had no legal authority to force Aurora Health to administer the drug. The litigation center of the American Medical Association and the state medical societies and Wisconsin Medical Society filed briefs with the Wisconsin Supreme Court urging the court to affirm the appellate court ruling that found the law doesn't give a patient or a patient's agent the right to force private hospitals or physicians to administer a particular treatment that they conclude is below the standard of care. Quote, holding otherwise would allow courts to compel treatments that the medical consensus finds to be substandard, the brief states. That outcome forces Wisconsin physicians to choose between the law and their ethical duties, potentially exposing patients to harm and physicians to liability. In a statement, Crudy, Aurora Healthcare said the health and safety of patients is the top priority, which is why physicians rely on evidence-based treatments.
Then who brought the lawsuit? Why would it have merit? Why would it have climbed all the way from what? Judge Shelley Grogan's Waukesha County courtroom all the way to the esteemed Wisconsin Supreme Court. If there was not merit, if you couldn't force the hospital to do this, then why is it all the way at the highest court in the state?
Because you keep appealing the losing ruling? I mean, that's why, Crudy. Aurora, here's what they said. We strongly believe the courts should not be allowed to compel providers to administer care that is medically substandard, and we are pleased that the American Medical Association and the Wisconsin Medical Board have weighed in to support our position. Gall's attorney, Karen Mueller, said the case would show the people of Wisconsin if, quote, they really have any rights or if they are just suggestions. And if they are suggestions, then why do we have a legislature? Mueller finished third in the August 9th Republican primary for Attorney General. She received 25% of the vote with a campaign promise to investigate hospitals for not treating COVID-19 with ivermectin. So we know where she's coming from. On Tuesday, Mueller said hundreds of people are dying in hospitals because they're having a drug withheld from them. She tied her campaign to former state rep Crudy's buddy, Tim Ramthun, who ran unsuccessfully in the Republican primary for governor. He and Harry Waite, leader of the Racine County-based group known as HOT Government that promotes false claims of voter fraud in the 2020 election, attended the Supreme Court hearing. I mean, this is all mega all up in here, Crudy. So why is this going to be unanimous? Because if it's not, if you can, as a patient, walk into a hospital and force them to give you whatever drugs you deem necessary, everyone's going to go there for their opioids, Crudy. Oh, my back hurts. I need some opioids. Oh, I got to have a procedure. Give me some opioids. I mean, it's going to open the floodgates. There's no freaking way that this could ever happen.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm sure. Yes.
I did get a small part of my earlier statement wrong. The lower court was Judge Lloyd Carter presiding in the Waukesha County Court. It was the appellate court, Judge Shelley Grogan, that overturned the lower court's ruling. But here's the distinction I would draw. This patient had a prescription from a medical provider. This wasn't you saying, hey, man, give me my drugs. This was something a little different. This was something where a different medical provider said, this is the appropriate course of treatment. And first, the judge, let me make sure I've got the proper judge here. Judge Lloyd Carter said, okay, Aurora Health must administer this drug at the direction of a outside of Aurora Healthcare's directive. And then came back and revised his decision and said, okay, but then you got to find an outside provider. You got to bring someone willing to administer this drug. But Dom, if you had a doctor in your back pocket, if you had Dr. Feelgood that showed up at Aurora Health with your drugs, well, under the lower court's ruling, God bless. You want more opioids? Call Dr. Feelgood. As long as he brings them down to the clinic, you can have them. I think you are going to be sadly surprised at just how wrong you are again.
What? Come on, the first judge already revised it. Then they lost in the appellate. Now they're going to lose again in the Wisconsin Supreme Court. Now, will you say it's 4-3? I say no way. I mean, come on. Think about the
3. 4-3.
You say it's 4-3. I say no way. I think it's going to be unanimous. It cannot possibly be. You have the hospital associations, these physician associations. They're all against it. They have ethical duties, man. So you get someone in your back pocket from another insurance hospital provider, God knows where, right? Maybe overseas. I mean, who knows? Doesn't matter. And no one's saying that you as a patient cannot have ivermectin, but you can't force a hospital to give it to you because you want it. You can go down the street, you can go to your vet, you can go buy it there. But you cannot force a private entity to give you substandard health. Hell, it's not even approved by the FDA. If someone takes too much ivermectin and dies from it, Crudy, then they're going to sue everybody, and they would be right to do so because it is not an approved drug or remedy for COVID-19.
What about our buddy, U.S. Senator Ron Johnson's right to try all the drugs bill?
Yes, I love it, man. Right to try it. You can try it, but you cannot force Aurora to give it to you. So good luck. I mean, I'm down, man. You want to try it, try whatever eases your pain. I am down with, but there is a standard for medicine in this country, man. And if you say, yes, you can have ivermectin, you can force your hospital to give you ivermectin, then you can force your hospital to give you every treatment for everything. And that's, of course, never going to happen.
You know what you're trying to do, man? You're trying to solve this problem with logic. And that's your shortfall in this case. Logically, it should be a unanimous 7-0 decision defeating this effort. The gall effort that, forced me to try all the drugs or, whatever, right? But here's where your logic breaks down, and it always does. This is an ends justifies the means court. The conservative bloc, the 3 conservatives, and then Hagedorn, he's a little bit of the swing vote, the judicial independent, right? I guarantee these 3 are down for this. Why? Because it's a Trump-supported Republican policy. And if it's a Trump-supported Republican policy, Rogansack, Ziegler, and the bad Bradley, they're all down. The only question on the 4-3 ruling is Hagedorn down with science and reality and the liberal bloc, or is Hagedorn down with crazy? That is the only question before the court right now. The soul of Brian Hagedorn. Come back with us. It's a Two-Fer Tuesday. Try all the drugs. Dom did. We're devil's advocates.
Oh, my arm. It's broken.
I don't care what drug will work. Try a bunch of them.
Whoa, Black Betty.
And for today's STEM tip, okay, you know recycling is important. No one wants plastic in the ocean. Here's a cool way to repurpose a plastic bottle. Build an awesome terrarium. Cut a large plastic bottle in half and fill the base with sand, pebbles, potting soil, and your favorite plant. I chose an African violet. Put the top of the bottle over your base and place it in the sun. Your plant will grow sealed in its own ecosystem. Fun, right? Learn more at She Can STEM. A message from the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates.
Hey, Jenny.
It's up to all of us. It's not just up to Democrats. Are we ready to rid our country of this perversion and deception? Are we sick of massacres at churches, grocery stores, theaters, concerts? Are we sick of adults forcing children who are raped into pregnancy? When is enough that we're going to vote out those fascists?
I'm putting you down for Caller Hall of Fame today. We have to carry these messages, even if the Democratic Party is incapable. You keep it up, sister.
Follow the Devil's Advocates on Facebook and Twitter.
Ready for our little forest adventure?
Yes!
There's a forest closer than you think. Find a park or forest near you and music inspired by nature at discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by USDA Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Thank you for listening to your local civic media radio station on air. Now join us anytime by finding and following our Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram pages. You'll also find social media links for your favorite shows and hosts on our website, civicmedia.us.
Here's your Devil Radio forecast. Lows dip down to about 31 tonight under overcast skies, northwest winds 8 to 15 miles an hour. Cloudy skies expected tomorrow, daytime highs approaching 36. Cloudy skies again tomorrow night, a mixture of precipitation likely, lows dip down to about 31. 3 to 5 inches of snow tomorrow night through Thursday. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Eric Height. Currently, it's 37 degrees.
When they go low, we get high. The Devil's Advocates.
And we are back from the 420 break. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. You can join us on the lines at 844-967-2789.
Dominic, welcome back from the Big Apple. I was a little surprised to hear you had attended a Broadway show.
Yes, yeah. We went to MJ the Musical at the the Neil Simon Theater off on Broadway. It was fantastic, man. Those productions are amazing, and I got to tell you, so it goes through some of the chronicles of Michael Jackson's life from his childhood to his teenage years and his adult years. And so they have 3 different actors playing Michael, and these kids were singing their asses off. It was just amazing. And the set changes were great. The interactions, the back and forth, a lot to unpack. It was a really, really entertaining musical.
Couldn't get tickets to R. Kelly, the musical, Dom?
No, I think they might have been selling those in the alley, Crudy.
I was in the Big Apple of the Midwest over the weekend.
Oh, yeah? Where's that?
Wausau.
What?
Very metropolitan, Wausau.
Yeah, I know.
It's sort of the gateway to the northern part of Wisconsin. I got to tell you, I was much more impressed by Wausau than a lot of the places I've been to.
Did you make it today's Bullet Dome, man?
I did not, but I looked. I looked 75 years. They're still in business.
Awesome.
Here's one unusual thing. I'll tell you one Warsaw story. WAU, SAU, Warsaw.
Warsaw.
Commercial. Stayed at this, I don't know, Best Western, wherever my wife put me up. So my wife and I were up there, and we're checking out the cool new Bull Falls Radio, WXCO facility, right at 301 North 3rd Street, right downtown. You're going to love it. We're going to party up there, dude. But I went to a soda machine, and it took $10 bills. And, soda in the hotel, it's like $3. So I'm like, all right, man, I get some loose change from my wallet. Never know when you got to tip someone. So I put in the $10 bill, and I hear nothing but a little bit of change coming up. I'm like, oh, God. And I'm thinking, now I'm going to get $7 worth of quarters, right? Only there should be more quarters coming out. So I'm feeling like, come on, I just got stiffed by this soda machine in Wausau. And I was saying such nice things about the city of Wausau. So I look down, Dom, and it's I got to tell you, they're silver dollars, but I am completely unaware that the U.S. currency has started issuing gold silver dollars, and they have like different faces. I got a Fillmore silver dollar that's gold, like a brassy.
You got like a dollar coin.
Yeah, I got a bunch of them here. I got like at least 7, right? And I think I went back later and bought another soda with the 5. I got an Abraham Lincoln. I got I don't have the best of eyes anymore. Yeah, Millard Fillmore. I got a gold Millard Fillmore silver dollar. You couldn't pick Millard Fillmore out of a police lineup. I look down, I'm thinking these are Chuck E. Cheese cube. They're like tokens. I'm not sure if I can spin this. This might only be valid in Wausau. 844-967-2789. The city has been invoked, and Stacy has responded on behalf of Marathon County. Stacy, welcome to the show.
Hey, Stacy.
Wausau.
Hey, guys. How are you today?
Good. Excellent. I enjoyed your city. It's beautiful. I love the Christmas lights down in the downtown district, and enjoyed jalapenos and went to the steak place and Polito's Pizza. I enjoyed the food especially, Stacy.
Yeah, it's a great place to live. I lived in Madison. I went to college in Madison, but I chose to move back here where my parents were after college, and I'm glad I did because it's a great place to live, work, raise children.
Well, Stacy, how do we turn that part of the state a little more blue? How do we get the truth out? WSAU, our righty-whitey competitor, that's a big stick up there, Stacy. How do we get the truth out? I mean, how do we go kick them in the shins? What do we do to start getting the people of Marathon County to pay attention and stop voting red?
I don't know what to do. Good luck.
A dynamic progressive mayor in Wausau. You guys elected a Democratic mayor. What happens when you leave town? Why is Marathon County red while Wausau is blue? I guess that's the better point.
Good question. Who knows? Who knows? We could sit and debate this all day. Who knows? Politics, that's why. Who knows? So, I love your show, first of all.
Thank you. You have excellent taste.
Here's on this Supreme Court ruling that's supposed to come through with Gull versus Aurora.
Yes.
Here's a twist to it. What if someone is on an experimental drug? They're doing an experimental drug, a drug trial that's per se through the UW-Madison, where they do a ton of them. And they live in Wausau, and they get hospitalized. And the hospital says, well, that's not a standard approved treatment. We're not going to give you that drug.
Excellent point, Stacy. Dom, how would you respond based upon your surety?
Well, yeah, and thanks for the call, Stacy. That's a good point. I don't know how that would work out. I would think that if you are on some sort of experimental, trial of a drug, you signed off some liability, some waivers, and those kinds of things. And you probably are going to have a direct, source to those drugs that would bypass perhaps a local hospital. So that would be my thought on how something like that would go down, Stacy. But I am certainly not a healthcare professional. But I think there would be ways to facilitate that without providing any additional liabilities to the local hospital.
Obviously, this circumstance that was being described, this was someone that was stricken in the hospital with COVID-19. This wasn't a chosen drug treatment where suddenly whatever disease they, maybe it's a diabetes treatment, they're in receiving care because their blood sugar's out of whack, only they can't get their prescribed theoretical drug. COVID-19 was a different circumstance. Obviously, that wasn't planned for. And ivermectin, that was the horse paste, right? That cannot be the right answer. But it's going to be a 4-3. That is the right answer. Come back. Hardly ever wrong. 63% of the time, we get it right every time.
I'm for the medicine. I'm not allowed.
From Bernie to Biden to even Trump supporters, Devil Radio is the political fix for every Wisconsinite. Always streaming at DARNWI.com.
ABC News, I'm Rita Roy. A looming deadline for the U.S. economy. The federal government expected to hit the debt ceiling on Thursday.
What we're talking about here is that $31 trillion number. That's how much money the U.S. government can borrow before it hits the debt limit. And ultimately, if there isn't some sort of consensus to either raise or suspend that debt limit, that would mean that those effects would be felt across the economy and would have a devastating impact probably on the stock market.
ABC's Elizabeth Schulze. More questions directed at the White House over President Biden's classified document scandal. But Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre is refusing any detailed comment and denying any effort to cover up the document findings during her initial remarks days ago.
I was repeating what the information that we had at that time, right, that you all had. I was confirming from what the special counsel had provided to all of you and that we knew as well from here.
In Ukraine, a Russian missile is blamed for hitting an apartment building, killing 45 people. This is ABC News.
Here we are, the young contender, scrappy, controversial, has an impressive reach. Devil Radio 92.7.
For Civic Media, I'm Terry Bell with this news. Wisconsin Republicans want to put welfare on April ballot statewide. The Senate takes up the advisory referendum bill today. The proposed question would ask if able-bodied childless adults should have to look for work in order to get public benefits. It hardly matters since jobless Wisconsinites already have to look for work to get food stamps and unemployment. The move is seen as a way to drive voter turnout for conservatives running for state Supreme Court. Dozens of people are pressing state lawmakers to keep the UW-Platteville campus in Richland Center open. State Senator Howard Markline tells Civic Media he wants to keep the campus open, but says the university's president didn't ask him. The Richland campus is set to close at the end of the spring semester. In sports, the Bucks host Toronto tonight. You're listening to Devil Radio, 92.7 FM, WTTN, 1580 AM.
You wanted information as election results rolled in, and the Civic Media network of radio stations delivered it live.
I was so impressed with your coverage. And I listened to you guys, and I got all the coverage. It was amazing.
Civic Media, the only network with news reporters and show hosts stationed across Wisconsin, sharing political insight not found anywhere else. Elections or anytime, we are here for you, your local Civic Media radio stations, and streaming on the Civic Media app.
10 years ago, we opened with a single location. We had one glass blower, that's me, and a full display of artistically created glass pipes and products. Today, you've helped us grow to 3 successful locations. Ignite Glass and Gifts thanks you for your continued support. We'll be here as long as you need us. Madison's favorite for glass gifts and bait. Ignite Glass and Gifts, Monona Drive, Williamson Street, and Odana Road. 1 solid decade. Man, does that feel good.
Rank Seed has been breeding better seeds for generations. Each year, Rank invests tens of millions of dollars to support DNA-level breeding and new trait development. This dedication to research has resulted in numerous insect-resistant, herbicide, and drought-tolerant traits in our lineup. Rank Seed utilizes the latest technologies, including robotics and color sorters, to ensure the highest germination and the best quality of seed, tirelessly striving to better serve our farmers. From research to results, Rank Seed is rooted in technology.
I'm 54, so it's too late to start saving for retirement, right?
Not right. Starting to save, even in your 50s, can really make a difference. At aceyourretirement.org, in just 3 minutes, you'll get a free personalized retirement plan. That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
The big and tall of political talk. The Devil's Advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show, the Two-Fer Tuesday edition. You get both devils and a little E-bone on the side, lightly screening your phone calls at 844-967-2789. And if you are from Warsaw, a lovely city, I swear to God, really like the city of Wausau. I'm very impressed by the city of Wausau. You can always join us, listen to us on WXEO Bull Falls Radio. In the newest addition to the Civic Media stable, the Death Star, Dom, WGBW. I tell you what, if you were looking for oldies today and you turned on the greatest radio show ever and you found us for the very first time and you're listening from Green Bay, call us at 844-967-2789. You, Green Bayan. What are Green Bay people called?
I don't know. It's a great question, crew. Green bands?
Green people. You Green bands, you go to the top of the list. But in the meantime, we'll take all comers from all ports of call worldwide. Civic Media app, take us with, right? All the Patriots do. The most important election nobody's ever heard of, Dom. We've heard of it. Our audience has heard because we keep telling them. The spring state Supreme Court race in Wisconsin has serious implications for abortion policy, voting rights, and more in a perennial battleground. Feel like we live in the fishbowl.
Yeah. It never ends, man.
I mean, I'm literally broadcasting in a fishbowl right here. Come wave at me. Just don't do the CJ thing when he slapped the glass that one night. That's startled me a little. Anyways, the fine reporting at the Politico. Control of the Wisconsin State Supreme Court is on the ballot this spring, and the contest could decide the fate of abortion rights, redistricting, and more in a critical swing state. Should a more liberal-leaning jurist win the job in the April election, it would flip the balance of the state's highest court for at least 2 years, and there are significant policy outcomes hanging on the result. The court chose the state's political maps for the decade after the Democratic governor and Republican legislature deadlocked, and it's likely to hear a case challenging Wisconsin's 19th century law banning almost all abortions in the near future. Wisconsin Supreme Court also decided major cases on election laws and voting rights before and after the 2020 presidential. So it's important. And anyways, more of the reporting here from Politico. This is a quote, our friend Ben Wickler, Democratic Party chair, great state of Wisconsin. The 2023 Wisconsin Supreme Court race is the most important election that nobody's ever heard of. Well, give us a little bit of credit, Ben. I swear our audience is learning more and more each and every day. He goes on to say, it has implications that will affect national politics for years to come, really at every level of government. It's a lot of levels, Dom.
Crudy, party organizations and ideological outside groups, both sides of abortion debate, for example, as well as labor groups, are planning to spend millions on advertising and activating extensive field networks. It will be the latest multi-million-dollar judicial race in years, which reflect both the outsized importance of the outcome and the increasing focus on contests further down the ticket and away from Washington. The court currently has a 4-3 conservative majority, as Crudy always mentions, but one of the conservatives held seats is open after Rogensack has decided not to seek another term. Further scrambling the politics, another conservative justice, Brian Hagedorn, who's elected in 19, has sided with liberal justices in the past on some high-profile cases. It is becoming clear that Democrats want to use the Supreme Court as a vehicle to circumvent legislators who actually make policy decisions, said Mark Jefferson, executive director of the state Republican Party, taking through a range of additional issues that could be in play at the court, from school choice to photo ID for voting and gun control measures. If the liberals pick up another seat, they will have a rock-solid majority that never deviates from liberal activism, he said. Voters must first navigate an unusual primary before choosing the new justice. There are 4 judges running for the position, which is technically nonpartisan, with 2 on either side of the ideological divide. Former Supreme Court Justice Daniel Kelly, who was appointed to the spot by then Governor Walker in 2016 before losing a 2020 election for a full term, and Waukesha County Judge Jennifer Dorow, who has rose to prominence for her handling of the trial of the Waukesha Christmas 2021 parade attack, are running on the right. On the left, candidates are Dane County Judge Everett Mitchell and Milwaukee County Judge Janet Protasewicz. The top 2 finishers in the February 21 primary will face off in the April 4th general election. The split field raises a possibility that 2 ideologically similar candidates advance to the general election, as has happened in some recent congressional elections with all-party top 2 primaries, but most observers don't think that's likely. Crudy, I don't think that's likely. Still,
likely.
The unusual primary dynamics have left many major players on both sides of the sidelines for now. Both state political parties are remaining neutral between their ideologically aligned candidates in the primary, and so is Governor Tony Evers, a Democrat. One notable exception there is Fair Courts America, a group supported by GOP mega donor Richard Uihlein. It has pledged support and millions of dollars, quote unquote, to Kelly. And as a side note here, Crudy, did you hear that Scott Walker's kid, who was in charge of one of the campaigns, has now left? Is this something new, or is this?
Did Alex get fired?
I don't think.
Well, that must be some Big Apple gossip I somehow missed out on. You keep
all right. You take on Crudy. Let me double check that.
Oh, come on, man.
All right. Assuming 2 judges on opposite sides of the ideological spectrum advance in the primary, the general election is expected to revolve around clear differences on redistricting and abortion policy, as well it should. On redistricting, the court ultimately selected a congressional map drawn by Evers, but it was one that leaned Republican anyway, after the court called for a new map that hewed as closely as possible to the old one. And we know the old one was stacked against the Dems. A similar and more protracted fight also broke out over legislative lines, and more challenges to the maps could arise in future years, especially if the balance of the court flips. I think it is huge, Evers said in an interview on the sidelines of the Democratic Governors Association winter meeting last month, specifically citing the redistricting battle. The Supreme Court has leaned conservative on almost all the issues, so yes, this is a big deal. National party groups that are heavily involved in the redistricting fight, such as Republican State Leadership Committee and the National Democratic Redistricting Committee, are also planning to play in the race. The NDRC, Democrats' main national redistricting organization, is remaining neutral in the primary, but has started to reactivate its network in the state ahead of the general election. Former Attorney General Eric Holder, the organization's chair, is likely to travel to the state for the general election. He's been on before. I imagine he'll come on again. Wisconsin's race has also taken on increased importance for the pro and anti-abortion rights group in the wake of the two decisions this month from Idaho and South Carolina state Supreme Courts, which recently heard cases over the state's abortion restrictions. A near total ban was upheld in Idaho, but a law preventing the procedure after about 6 weeks of pregnancy was thrown out in South Carolina. The issue could come in front of the Wisconsin court soon. State Attorney General Josh Call, a Democrat, has sued to overturn the state's 1849 law that makes abortion illegal in almost all circumstances. While that case is winding its way through the courts, abortion providers have stopped performing the procedure because of ambiguity around enforcement of the law. On a side note, Cody, my understanding is some abortion clinics have opened up over the border in Illinois from Wisconsin.
Yes, that is true. I've been looking up both the wanker kids, the offspring of wanker. Let's see. Matt Walker, WI. See what he claims his job is. Owner and managing director at WalkerMediaAgency.com. That's got to be the wanker's kid, right? I think so. There's Matt and Alex. I mean, how many? Well, that'd be unfortunate if some other poor bastards named Matt Walker, state of Wisconsin, trying to work in the media world. No, it's got to be the Matt Walker. He's sharing tweets from Charles Franklin and the like. Matt Walker claims his job is owner and managing director of WalkerMediaAgency.com. And the other Walker, and I think this is probably a demotion, Alex, working for Senator Bradley. I'm like, Bill Bradley still senator? No, Julian Bradley, the one black Republican in the state of Wisconsin.
Yes, I remember Julian. Of course, Wisconsin Supreme Court, this race coming up. A little bit more here from the political.
Neither of the Walker boys are really gainfully employed, as near as I can tell.
Well, just like their dad. Hell, they're part of the Young America's Foundation, right? I mean, I'm sure they can find some work there. Planned Parenthood is planning to spend six figures on the Wisconsin Supreme Court race between national and local affiliate investments. The organization, in conjunction with another partner group, is planning voter education campaigns, get out the vote drive, and independent expenditure advertising in the general election. Both sides say the issue is expected to become much more prominent in the general election. You think? Ahead of the primary, Wisconsin's Right to Life, another anti-abortion group, is working to educate its members on the importance of the race. But Gracie Skogman, the group's legislative and PAC director, said the group will be much more focused on the general election. A quote, "The unfortunate news is the majority of voters that we have interacted with are not aware of the stakes of the election, the candidates who are on the ballot, the views of the candidate, or the tie between our current pro-life statutes and the result of the election." Skogman said, "From our perspective, there's a long way to go. It's really not that difficult. Republicans are for forced government birthing, and Democrats are for allowing people to have the option to determine what to do with their own bodies." Any questions?
Dominic, as a footnote, saw my first two state Supreme Court yard signs today.
Oh, really?
Out to Richland County. Drove out to WRCE, News from the Center, and WRCO, our FM affiliate down there, and Richland Center on the way down Highway 14, driving the back way. Two signs, maybe three, for Janet Protasewicz, Janet Protasewicz, Judge Janet, the liberal candidate. So quite unusual in that, that's starting to get out to rural Wisconsin. Two on the right, one on the left on the way back. So I think I saw three Judge Janet Protasewicz signs on the way out.
Yeah, I mean, obviously very important, as Wickler has pointed out, as Politico is taking the time to report on, and millions of dollars. But what my understanding, Crudy, the Wisconsin Republicans, they have a masterstroke. They got a plan to push Republican turnout, right? They got a statewide referendum
Well, we'll get there in a minute, but let's get to the phones first while there's a little bit of time in this segment. 844-967-2789. Again, people from Green Bay, you rise to the top. But D's calling from Madison. Welcome, D. What do you got for us?
Hey, D.
So, hey, guys. So in going back to the Supreme Court decision that's coming down, I have to side with Dom because, of course, logic and reason. Because if they vote 4-3 and they say that a patient can walk in and demand that a physician provide them with whatever treatment they want, what about when a woman walks in and wants Plan B?
Yeah, good point.
Excellent point, D. But I don't think the judicial legislators, in this case, the conservative bloc of the Wisconsin Supreme Court, they always rule starting from the conclusion they want to reach, and then they try to back into the logic. And D, I don't think logic and rationale is going to keep this conservative bloc from voting for this. It's Trump's Trump's horse paste cure. So they're for it.
But D, the other side of that is, of course, what is the limiting factor? I mean, they're not going to make a law specifically only for ivermectin. If something like this were to pass, that means everybody can go in and ask for everything, right?
Right. That's how I see it. Now, they, of course, could go back, just as Crude's saying, the logic factor for the conservatives is clearly out the window. But I actually think this is a nightmare scenario for them, that they have to vote on this. Because from my point of view, there's no way, no matter which side they vote for, that they're winning.
Well, you make an excellent point, D, and I will point out, Wisconsin Supreme Court upheld the election of Joe Biden in the state of Wisconsin, despite all the evidence and the recounts and the 21,000 votes. That was a 4-3, guys. Logic, reason, my ass. This is the Wisconsin Supreme Court. Come back, more Devils.
Everything you want.
Yeah, probably.
We've all felt left out. And for people who move to this country, that feeling lasts more than a moment. We can change that. Learn how at belongingbeginswithus.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates.
Mitch McConnell did make a public statement, right? After he voted to acquit, nothing says the president can't be prosecuted. Set the example for your caucus.
Convince your caucus as to why the man is not fit to serve. How do you not use your leadership to say, you guys, this is crazy. We can't do this, and here is exactly why. Because now of the two major political parties, one of them is under the thumb of a fascist insurrectionist.
Follow the Devil's Advocates on Facebook and Twitter.
Tom has been a teacher for over 40 years. One day, I think one of the students had asked the question and he didn't remember the answer. And I also noticed that he was letting his class out earlier than they were supposed to let out. I was really starting to worry.
Levi and I talked about how it would change our lives, but he was there beside me.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
We've all felt left out. And for people who move to this country, that feeling lasts more than a moment. We can change that. Learn how at belongingbeginswithus.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Here's your Devil Radio forecast. Lows dip down to about 31 tonight. Under overcast skies, winds out of the northwest, 8 to 15 miles an hour. Highs around 36. Tomorrow, overcast skies. Cloudy skies expected again tomorrow night. A mixture of precipitation likely. Lows level off around 31. 3 to 5 inches of snow tomorrow night through Thursday. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Derek Height. Currently, it's 37 degrees.
The Devil's Advocates. Making radio great again.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. You can always join us on the lines at 844-967-2789.
Dominic, you alluded to some efforts by Wisconsin legislative Republicans. Let's not forget, they've gerrymandered themselves like a tick on a dog. They're not going anywhere unless there's an unfavorable ruling by the Wisconsin Supreme Court saying you can't be that partisan. That goes beyond the pale. So in a little act of self-preservation, they're trying to influence the outcome of the Wisconsin nonpartisan Supreme Court election to happen here on April 4th. And they put forth some statewide referendums. Now, Dom, you told me and mentioned to me, and of course I mentioned it yesterday on the big show. In 2018, in the midterms, we saw legalized marijuana referendums worked very hard by local advocates, pushed them through city boards, county boards, like 16, 17 different statewide, community referendums around the state.
Not statewide.
Not statewide. And that actually reflected the will of local voters, and they were all overwhelmingly successful, meaning that's the will of the voters. Now, of course, Republicans block that. I'd love to see a statewide referendum on legalizing marijuana, but the Republicans got all sorts of malfeasance planned for a statewide referendum. Well, the earlier headlines today, Dom, were that Governor Tony Evers had put forth a proposed referendum. What about abortion? What about letting the voters of the state of Wisconsin have a say?
Right.
Well, the newest headline, Dom, Republicans block Dems' push to put abortion on the ballot. So that ain't going to happen. Then move ahead with the bail measure. That's their plan. Here are the politics behind the moves. Let's go inside the politics for a minute, Dom. In the first floor meeting of a new legislative session, the state Senate today advanced a constitutional amendment proposal that would expand a judge's discretion when making bail decisions, and rejected a proposal put on the spring ballot to put on the spring ballot an advisory referendum asking voters whether abortion access should be restored in Wisconsin. So they got theirs on the ballot, but abortion will not be on the ballot because they don't want to know the will of Wisconsin voters. And also that might motivate some that wouldn't vote for a conservative that would rule to uphold the 1849.
They already know what the Wisconsin voters want, Crudy. Wisconsin voters want legal access to abortion. A majority of Wisconsinites do. They are not down with an 1849 law. And as we've known, as what Wisconsin Election Commissioner disgraced Bob Spindell, it is the philosophy and act and effort of the Republican Party, the megas, to suppress the votes. And anything they can do to suppress votes, they will do, because that is how they win.
Well, in this case, Tom, they're trying to encourage their voters, that would come out. Let me read a little bit more of the reporting here. Republican lawmakers voted down a proposal from Evers and Democratic lawmakers to overhaul a resolution they ultimately passed Tuesday that would poll voters in the April 4th spring election on whether Wisconsin residents should be required to work for welfare benefits. Democrats instead wanted to survey voters on abortion policy. Now, the timing of all three measures taking up on Tuesday is aimed at, in part, boosting turnout in one of the most consequential Wisconsin Supreme Court elections ever. It says in a decade here. I read what's written. A race that could decide a number of high-profile issues in the state. And again, let's not forget, one of the issues that could come before this court is whether or not this tick-on-dog like relationship, this partisan gerrymandered of the Wisconsin legislature, and if you didn't know, it's for the benefit of Republicans.
Of course.
Well, they're going to determine whether or not that's legal, and probably should not be. Now, I don't know which case will come before the courts. I don't know the merits of the pleadings, but if I was in self-preservation mode, if I was Robin Voss, if I wanted to keep control over the Republican court that then would rubber stamp my malfeasance, well, hell, man, I got a little dog in this fight. I got a little self-preservation in mind. Just keep that in mind. A little context. The timing of all three measures taken up on Tuesday is aimed at, in part, boosting turnout for one of the most consequential Wisconsin Supreme Court elections in a decade. We mentioned that part. On Tuesday, the state Senate passed 23-9 a constitutional amendment proposal that would expand discretion for judges when making bail decisions. The proposal passed both houses last legislative session, again, completely under the control of Republicans because of the gerrymander. So don't think that adds any validity, the fact that it passed through the last gerrymandered legislative session. But anyways, it must pass them again this session to be put on the ballot. Democratic State Senator Brad Pfaff of Onalaska and Robert Wersch of Kenosha joined Republicans in supporting the proposal. It now heads to the state assembly for approval. The bill's author, Senator Van Wangard, Republican of Racine, said the measure would empower, I tell you, Wisconsin judges to consider much more relevant facts when setting bail. This isn't a silver bullet. It doesn't fix all problems, but unless this is fixed, it's just grandstanding. Well, that's exactly what this is. Grandstanding, because it doesn't affect state law. This is a first step. Without this amendment, there is no second step. Step 1, steal underwear.
Step 3, profit.
Make profit. Step 2.
Step 2. Figure it out. We'll figure it out.
Democrats argued the amendment was fast-tracked and purely political. It absolutely is. Chris Larson, Democratic senator from Milwaukee, said, "This is fear-mongering happening in the criminal justice system." Alina Taylor said the approach sounds good, but is a Band-Aid approach. She called for more funding for the criminal justice system. Now, again, when they actually get through the primary, and you've got the completely unpalatable, apparently even to many on the right, Dan Kelly, this pompous, contemptuous former wanker appointee. I mean, he got crushed. He lost by 163,000 votes to Karofsky. You can see why they might seek an alternative. But you got this mega donor Uline that's going to throw millions behind Dan Kelly. And what is the support of Dan Kelly? Well, he's tough on crime. Unlike his ultra-liberal opponent, Jennifer Doro, who's soon going to be characterized, at least during this primary process, by Uline's outfit as being for no cash bail. Doro was for bail reform. Doro's on the wrong side of this issue, according to many conservatives. So she's going to be castigated, perhaps, maybe not in the racial tones that, our buddy Mandela Barnes was, but they're going after Jennifer Doro. Whoever wins is going to be a damaged candidate, either by their last elective cycle, think Karofsky v. Kelly, or by the primary. So I'm looking forward to this one.
It should be fun.
The battle for the soul of the great state of Wisconsin. And we'll bring you a front row seat. More Devil's Advocates, Hour 2, the happier happy hour. It's a Tuesday. It's a twofer. You get both of us for the price of one. More Devil's Advocates.
Democracy matters.
I don't need to be lectured about how important this really is.
Okay!
You are listening to your local civic media radio station on air. Thank you. Did you know we are always streaming on TuneIn and the Civic Media app too? And if you miss a show or game, find it wherever you get your podcasts or on our website, civicmedia.us.
The song just embodies the Packers for those first 7 weeks.
If it's bad, is that what you're trying to get at? A terrible song, a terrible team? Who was that?
That's from the Emoji Movie, man. That's how I heard it.
You watched that garbage?
Yeah, I watched it.
Where Sir Patrick Stewart played the poop?
It's actually a highly underrated movie.
Be sure to tune in for Packer Outright Opinions Friday nights at 7 p.m. right here on Devil Radio 92.7 FM.
Madison, tune in every weekday from 11 to 2 on Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM for the Tom Hartman program. Join the show's conversation because our democracy is not a spectator sport. Listen live right here.
You are listening to WTTN 1580 AM Columbus, W224 EG Madison, always streaming on the Civic Media app.
ABC News, I'm Andy Field. Growing number of questions for the White House over President Biden's classified documents.
multiple top-secret material found at Biden's private property. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre.
We're going to continue to, as we have said, fully cooperate with the Department of Justice. We're going to fully cooperate with the President's team is going to fully cooperate with the special counsel.
House Speaker Kevin McCarthy noting the White House has been largely silent on the matter dating back to the midterms. The federal government expected to hit its debt ceiling this Thursday. Congress faced with either raising the limit or suspending it till a later date. New details in the case of a University of Alabama basketball player charged with capital murder. Investigators now say 21-year-old Darius Miles provided the gun used to kill a young woman near campus early Sunday, but that another man fired the weapon. School says he's no longer on the basketball team as the case plays out. This is ABC News. New demands for answers after the death of a Washington, D.C. teacher visiting Los Angeles. He died after allegedly causing a traffic accident, ignoring LAPD orders.
Please! Keenan Anderson died 4.5 hours after he was hit repeatedly by an LAPD taser. The coroner has not yet ruled on his cause of death. Police say Anderson had cocaine and marijuana in his body. Anderson's cousin, Black Lives Matter co-founder Patrice Cullors, says his death should cause changes.
There's no reason why law enforcement should be the first responders at a traffic stop or accident.
But the LAPD was flagged down by bystanders as Anderson was seen running away from the scene and allegedly tried to steal another car. Alex Stone, ABC News.
Tennis great Chris Evert says she is now cancer-free. A year ago, she announced she was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. Evert has since had a hysterectomy and double mastectomy after discovering she had the BRCA1 gene. Andy Field, ABC News.
Devil Radio 92.7 FM, covering all the malarkey you can handle.
You know what? I'll tell you something. There's nothing better than a hot sausage, couple 2-3 cold beers, and Devil Radio on a box.
For Civic Media, I'm Jane Matnier with your headlines. A grassroots group wants a pledge that no abortions in Milwaukee will be prosecuted. Reproductive Justice Action is demanding DA John Chisholm sign a pledge ensuring the safety of residents and healthcare providers in his district. They're holding a press conference and rally tomorrow outside the Milwaukee County Safety Building. They're also asking Chisholm to work with Attorney General Josh Kaul to repeal Wisconsin's 1849 abortion ban, which went into effect last summer after the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. Promising news if you drink water in Wausau. A new water treatment plant in the city is successfully removing PFAS from the city's drinking water. The plant came online last month with a filtration system that pulls the forever chemicals out of the water. Long-term exposure to PFAS has been linked to an increased risk of some cancers. You're listening to Devil Radio, 92.7 FM, WTTN, 1580 AM.
It's a new year, and because we're excited about our new and still growing Civic Media network of radio stations, it's time to do something really big. How does $1 million advertising giveaway sound to you? Our celebration is your chance to work with Civic Media's amazing sales team, creating a radio advertising campaign promoting your business for free. Save the date. The $1 million advertising giveaway is only happening on Thursday, January 26th. Full details on our website, civicmedia.us/million.
Hey, this is Jim Santel. I am the host of Morning Cannolis. Every single Saturday morning from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., we talk about the major stories in law, in government, and the aspiration for justice in America. Delighted to have you join, call in, and be a part of our discussion right here on the networks of Civic Media.
This local musical interlude is brought to you by Max Inc. Radio. Dana Perry.
What am I fearing? Why do I worry at all? 'Cause I can feel that.
Listen to Max Inc. Radio every Saturday and Sunday, 6 p.m. to midnight. Download the podcast at maxincradio.com. We are local music.
Catch Up North News Radio with Pat Kreitlow at its brand new time, 6 to 8 a.m. weekdays.
the city of Shanghai started administering an inhalable COVID-19 vaccine. I hear a lot of you saying the same thing I had in my head. I don't know about that.
As long as they're not just crop dusting everyone.
Crop dusting, that's exactly what I think people would be fearful of. I would not trust the Chinese government. I would trust people who really know about inhaling something and the good that it does you. Of course, I'm talking about Dom and Crute.
Hey, Tom Hartman here. Join me on Devil Radio every Monday through Friday for the Tom Hartman program on 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM. Tune in for the news of the day, share your opinion on the topics we discuss, and join the lively debate with me and my guests each weekday from 11 to 2 on the Tom Hartman program. Only on Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, Wisconsin's home for progressive news and talk radio. Tag You're It.
Devil Radio programming is produced live in the Solidarity Realty Studios. Find them at solidarityrealty.com. Solidarity.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves and corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the Devil Radio Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Here is your host, Mike Crute.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, a Two-Fer Tuesday. Dom is back. You on the phones at 844-967-2789. E-Bone will barely screen you. You know, if you're not hammered drunk, we'll probably let you on.
Low standards here. Just be FCC compliant. We appreciate it.
That would be appreciated. Dom, you've been gone. So I think it's time to do a little what'd you miss? Well, we got a George Santos update. He's now officially a congressman, Dom. And he got 2 committee assignments. The Republican leadership, in their infinite wisdom, have given George Santos 2 committee assignments.
Is that even his real name? I mean, didn't I see some video of him introducing himself as with a different name? Do we even know if that's his name? Is he even a? Is he a citizen? Should we request his birth certificate?
Well, that's an interesting plot twist, Don, but let me tell you about his committee assignments. He's a big shot now. The House GOP Steering Committee on Tuesday recommended that embattled Rep. George Santos, embattled, is that what we're calling the man, a Republican from New York, sit on the House Small Business Committee and the House Science, Space, and Technology Committee. Well, Dom, I did see on his resume he was an astronaut, so it seems quite appropriate. Santos' assignment to the panels come as multiple members of his own party have called on him to resign over his admitted fabrications of his work history and educations and questions about his campaign finances, misleading claims about Jewish heritage, and reported charges in Brazil related to checkbook fraud, which Santos has denied. And then they add, among other issues.
There's so many. We can't even enumerate them all.
Dominic, the recommendation from the House GOP Steering Committee, a panel of about 30 members of House leadership and elected regional representatives, will have to be approved by the full House Republican Conference. The conference typically approves the steering panel's recommendation. And Rep. Roger Williams, Republican from Texas, is the newly assigned chairman of the Small Business Committee, which has jurisdiction over the Small Business Administration and implemented the Paycheck Protection Program, the often defrauded PPP program, Dom. Here is what Williams said. I can't condone what he said, what he's done. I don't think anybody does, but that's not my role. He was elected. He represents 1 million people. Rep. Frank Lucas, also a Republican from Oklahoma, is the chair of the House Committee on Science, Space, and Technology, which has jurisdiction over his other committee assignment. The Hill has reached out to the committee for comment. And before his resume fabrications were revealed, Santos told NY1 in November that he hoped to sit on the House Financial Services Committee based on my 14-year background in capital markets.
What? Wasn't he accused of running a Ponzi scheme with one of those companies?
He's got a 14-year history in the capital markets, Dom.
Is that what we're calling it?
And he also wanted to serve on the House Foreign Affairs Committee based on my, I guess, multicultural background as a human being. I think those would be natural fits, and those are also my passions. You know, he has strong passions, Dom. Speaker Kevin McCarthy has declined to call on Santos to resign and said the freshman lawmaker would sit on committees. I try to stick by the Constitution. Is that what you're doing, Kevin?
Yes, that's exactly. He loves the Constitution. Weren't they going to read it word for word on the very first day, and instead they tried to gut the IRS?
Well, actually, on the very first day, second day, third day, fourth day, right. We're still trying to elect the speakers.
All right, right. My bad.
I try to stick by the Constitution. The voters elected him to serve. If there is a concern, is there a concern? And he has to go through the ethics. Let him move through that, McCarthy told reporters last week, referring to the House Ethics Committee. He's going to have to build the trust here. He's going to have the opportunity to try to do that. Santos is under investigation in New York, but has not been charged with any crime in the U.S. Lawmakers in the past have continued to serve in Congress and on committee until they were found guilty of a crime. See Matt Gaetz.
Crudy Santos, according to the Washington Post, and we gotta we gotta do Santos updates every day. I mean, this guy's. This is insane that this is actually happening. This is not the people who elected George Santos didn't get George Santos. They got this guy who pretended to be something else. And so they didn't get what they wanted. And certainly those Republicans who voted for him should be upset. And they should be upset with the GOP in Washington with McCarthy, who is doing this specifically and only because he needs Santos's vote. But there's more, Crudy. Santos has deeper ties than previously known to a businessman who cultivated close links with a one-time Trump confidant and who is the cousin of a sanctioned Russian oligarch, according to video footage and court documents. Andrew Intrater and his wife each gave the maximum $5,800 to Santos's main campaign committee and tens of thousands more since 2020 to committees linked to him, according to filings with the FEC. His cousin, Intrater's cousin, the donor's cousin, is Russian billionaire Viktor Vesselberg. Remember that guy's name. He's been sanctioned by the U.S. government for his role in the Russian energy industry. The relationship between Santos and Intrater goes beyond campaign contributions, according to a statement made privately by Santos in 2020 and a court filing the following year in a lawsuit brought by the SEC against a Florida-based investment firm, Harbor City Capital, where Santos worked for more than a year. Taken together, Crudy, the evidence suggests Santos may have had a business relationship with Intrater as Santos was first entering politics in 2020. It also shows, according to the SEC filing, that Intrater put hundreds of thousands of dollars into Santos's one-time employer, Harbor City, which was accused by regulators of running a Ponzi scheme.
You say tomato, I call it a Ponzi scheme.
So I want to be on the business committee, because I work for Harbor City Capital. I took hundreds of thousands of dollars from, the cousin of a Russian billionaire, Viktor Vesselberg. Of course, it makes total sense. And this guy's lied about everything else, and you're still going to see them on committees? I mean, this is how desperate and craven the mega Republicans have become.
Dominic, there's more. I've got a little bit of, I guess it's not sound. I've got a quote from George Santos's former roommate. It's just flabbergasting. Ex-roommate recalls of lawmakers' delusions of grandeur. A lot of ways, he's a young Donald Trump. Pardon me.
Without the $500 million in inheritance?
Not the rich daddy.
Yeah.
But apparently he had somebody's checkbook in Brazil, so he's well on his way.
Right.
George Santos' ex-roommate, Gregory Maury Parker, told Don Lemon during an interview that he remembers Santos having delusions of grandeur during their time living together. You know, I've had some bad roommates. I'm with delusions of grandeur.
I don't know any of them, Crude. You had the best roommates ever.
Santos, the newly elected New York congressman who has been urged to resign by several officials, has already lied about his education, professional resumes, his grandparents surviving the Holocaust, having Jewish heritage. And again, Dom, and it says, and more. There's always an and more with this guy.
But wait, there's more.
During the interview, Maury Parker said he was surprised to hear the name George Santos because he only knew his roommate by the name Anthony DeVolder.
You know, you see Santos when he was in the first several days that we're talking about when they were doing the votes for speaker. They called his name out and he didn't respond. You know why? Because he's not used to being called George Santos.
I don't understand. Maury Parker told Lemon, did he go one by one to everybody in his district and just literally pull the wool over their eyes? It's just flabbergasting. Lemon later asked the former roommate about Santos's allegedly stealing his Burberry scarf while they were living together and wearing it during a recent rally. That's ballsy. Although Maury Parker believes Santos did steal the scarf, he assured Lemon that it actually the least of his concerns. He's more occupied with finding out where the finances for Santos' campaign are coming from. Well, I'm glad someone's got their eye on the prize, Don Lemon. Also, while the two lived together, Maury Parker knew Santos's mother was a housekeeper in Manhattan, but the way he would go out and spend money just didn't seem feasible. He said Santos would go to bars with rolls of $100 bills, and 3 days later, he would have no money. Well, when you go in a bar with rolls of $100 bills, they go away quick, don't they?
Yeah, it's amazing how money spends like that.
A little bit more of the quote from the former roommate. You know, always be careful of the former roommate. They might tell the truth on you one day, Dom.
You're welcome.
He is one of the highest elected officials in the country. He is responsible for making the laws. Yes, I do miss my stone check Burberry scarf. Apparently, this guy is still a little fixated on the scarf, Dom. But at the same time, it's why I feel like they're not focusing enough on the issues at hand. Where did all this money come from to finance the campaign? The whole thing is quite bewildering to me. The roommate. Not a handsome lad. But, you know, that's a long time ago. I was better looking in college, too.
Come on, man.
You certainly have not aged well. So.
Are you kidding me? Eternally young, baby. Young at heart. Maybe a few gray hairs, a couple extra pounds. But other than that, man, just like I was when I was 20.
Still a juvenile delinquent at heart. At least you've never been accused of being George Santos.
If that's your real name.
Did you steal my checked Burberry scarf?
No, but I got some sunglasses I could sell you, Crudy.
Come back with us. Are they Ray-Bans?
The best kind.
844-967-2789. More Devil's Advocates. It's a Tuesday.
Oh, Thor, mighty god of thunder.
Who is this kid?
Ready for a little forest adventure?
Yes!
So much waiting for me. Yeah, I wanna go outside. I wanna be.
We're here.
Whoa, that was fast.
There's a forest closer than you think. Find a park or forest near you and music inspired by nature. DiscoverTheForest.org. Brought to you by USDA Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Cardall put out these weird, sad videos interviewing incapacitated elders in their nursing homes that don't have the ability to say, don't use me as your political prop.
If they are what you say they are, then you shouldn't be doing it how you did it.
Yes, it was the kids using the parents as props. Well, my old man hasn't talked since 76. Of course, he would have voted for Trump. That's the evidence. Videos. People that can't talk.
It is wrong. It's absolutely wrong.
Check out the entire podcast library at darnwi.com.
Hey, son, how are you feeling?
I'm fine, Pops.
What's on your mind?
I can't explain it.
When your kid can't find the language, find the lyrics. Start a conversation at sounditouttogether.org. Brought to you by Ad Council and Pivotal Ventures.
It's easy to listen to your favorite local radio station anytime. Download the Civic Media app from the Apple or Google Play Store, then listen live or whenever you want from anywhere for free.
Here's your Devil Radio forecast. Lows dip down to about 31 tonight. Under overcast skies, winds out of the northwest, 8 to 15 miles an hour. Highs around 36. Tomorrow, overcast skies. Cloudy skies expected again tomorrow night. A mixture of precipitation likely. Lows level off around 31. 3 to 5 inches of snow tomorrow night through Thursday. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Derek Height. Currently, it's 37 degrees.
The Devil's Advocates. Never personal, only politics.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. You can join us on the lines at 844-967-2789.
Dominic, don't be ugly. Did you hear Marjorie Taylor Greene, your three-toed girl, was having a fight with Lauren Boebert? A noisy quarrel in the house restroom. Let's do a little Mean Girls.
Do we have to? Is this necessary? Don't be ugly.
Marjorie Taylor Greene's on a big committee now. You know, now that the Dems aren't in charge anymore, she's been restored to her place of honor. Dominic, tensions between Reps Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene boiled over into a confrontation in the women's restroom at the U.S. Capitol. The squabble took place January 3rd on the first day of the new Congress in the House Speaker's lobby. Ladies' room, because they're ladies, Dom. And sources told the Daily Beast the lawmakers feuded over their perceived loyalty to Republican leader Kevin McCarthy as he tried to secure enough votes to become House Speaker. Greene questioned Boebert's loyalty to McCarthy, and after a few words were exchanged, Boebert stormed out, said one source familiar with the argument. You were okay taking millions of dollars from McCarthy, but you refused to vote for him for Speaker, Lauren? Greene said, according to a source familiar with the confrontation. The first source says Greene came out of the bathroom stall and confronted Boebert, who had been unaware the Georgia Republican was in the restroom doing her business, for taking campaign money from McCarthy and then turning against him and the speaker voting. Now, I do enjoy the chaos and the fact the Republican Congress is in disarray, Dom, but that is pretty damn disloyal. If you're going to take a guy's campaign cash and then it's time to, support the guy for speaker and you refuse to do so, that's disloyal, Dom. I don't know.
Maybe you should have paid her a little more.
That's when Lauren said, don't be ugly, the first source said, adding that Boebert then ran out like a little schoolgirl. Boebert declined to comment on the matter, saying only, see you later, bye. And Greene.
This is just... I gotta honestly though. I mean, if there was a physical fight, I'd have to go with Marjorie Taylor Greene being the CrossFitter and whatnot. She's pretty stacked in that regard. But Boebert's probably packing a pistol, so I'm not clear who would win that fight.
Rep Debbie Dingell, Democrat from Michigan, allegedly witnessed the near screaming match, according to sources, but she declined 3 separate times to describe what she saw in any way, shape, or form.
Want nothing to do with it.
That's between me and my therapist at this point. What happens in the ladies' room stays in the ladies' room, the Michigan Democrat said. Well, that's quite, nice of her to keep their bathroom secrets for them, Dom.
The Republicans, they continue to I don't know. I guess I shouldn't be shocked, but these crass Republicans, man. I mean, this. What else can we say? We have election deniers and white nationalists and insurrectionists, frauds. I mean, straight up frauds. George Santos, that's not your real name, kind of fraud, right? And now what? Potentially taking Russian money, but don't say Russia. But not only that, man, I got to throw this one out there. Then we promise we'll get to the phones. Be patient. 844-967-2789. It goes beyond just the asinine nature of their bathroom confrontations. And certainly we still have yet to really come to terms with who orchestrated the coup and who was involved and have those people brought to justice, not just the foot soldiers that did the damage. But now we have this what? A failed New Mexico State House candidate visited the homes of local Democratic leaders to vehemently dispute his election loss weeks before he allegedly orchestrated a series of shootings at the residence, elected officials said. This is from NBC News.
Republicans, better candidates, better ideas, Tom.
Republican Solomon Pena is accused of conspiring with and paying 4 men to carry out 4 shootings in the Albuquerque area homes of 2 county commissioners and 2 state legislators. Albuquerque police said no one was hurt. Police announced his arrest on Monday evening. Pena came to my house right after the November election. He was sort of erratic in the points he was trying to make about the election and about how many doors he knocked on and how the number of votes didn't match. Bernalillo County Commissioner Adrian Barboa said in an interview with NBC News. She said she called the police after the incident. He was at my door and he was aggressive. He was an election denier, she said. She had 8 shots fired at her home on December 4th, the first of a series of shootings that targeted local and state Democrats. Former County Commissioner Debbie O'Malley shared a similar experience with Pena, an avowed supporter of Donald Trump and election denier, around the same time after he first visited her former home before tracking her down at her current address. This guy came to my home. I was very concerned about it, and it was very unsettling. He was angry about losing the election. He felt the election was unfair and untrue. While he did not threaten her during the November encounter, she did call authorities and deputies patrol her house for a few days. But weeks later, on December 11th, her home was struck with 12 bullets while she and her husband slept, police have said. He could have killed us, O'Malley said. Police found 2 handguns and a Nissan Maxima owned by, let's just say it, mega Republican Pena during a January 3rd traffic stop. One of the guns appeared to have fired shots outside the home of State Senator Linda Lopez roughly 40 minutes before and 40 miles away. Shell casings found in the Maxima matched those found outside the home of a new State House Speaker Javier Martinez on December 8th, police said. Police said Pena may have been motivated by anger over his November loss. Police spokesperson Gilbert Gallegos said at a news conference early Monday evening, Pena claimed his defeat was a result of election fraud. He lost his state challenge to incumbent Democrat 74% to 26%. He claimed it was rigged. It was rigged. So this guy shows up, and there's more to this. You can see it at NBC News. We posted some of this on our Facebook page, The Devil's Advocates Radio. But this is just a continuation of the trend line, right? The guy's actually shooting at Democrats because he lost an election. These are the people the Republican Party, the MAGA, have embraced, are turning into. Come back with us. We are the Devil's Advocates. We'll take more of your calls. 844-967-2789. I am appalled. You should be too. Come back. We'll be right back.
Lady, you're scaring us.
Does this mean we're not friends anymore?
Devil Radio, your fix for progressive news talk from Verona to Sun Prairie. Always streaming at DARNWI.com.
ABC News, I'm Andy Field. Growing number of questions for the White House over President Biden's classified documents, multiple top-secret material found at Biden's private property. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre.
We're going to continue to, as we have said, fully cooperate with the Department of Justice. We're going to fully cooperate with the President's team is going to fully cooperate with the special counsel.
House Speaker Kevin McCarthy noting the White House has been largely silent on the matter, dating back to the midterms. The federal government expected to hit its debt ceiling this Thursday. Congress faced with either raising the limit or suspending it till a later date. New details in the case of a University of Alabama basketball player charged with capital murder. Investigators now say 21-year-old Darius Miles provided the gun used to kill a young woman near campus early Sunday, but that another man fired the weapon. School says he's no longer on the basketball team. As the case plays out, this is ABC News.
From Portage to Watertown, Devil Radio on WTTN 1580 AM is essential radio to get you through your day.
This is Pat Kreitlow from Up North News Radio. 2023 is well underway, so do we see Republicans charting a less obstinate course, focused on inflation like they promised? No. We're hearing the government is coming for your gas stoves. Tucker Carlson calling out colorful M&Ms, not white enough, I guess. And Republican legislators saying there's no pathway to legal marijuana because, it only enjoys support from nearly 70% of Wisconsinites. What's really going on here? It's a smokescreen, done without legal marijuana, of course, pardon the pun. Each minute spent talking about M&Ms or gas stoves keeps folks from noticing that Republicans still have no policy agenda that would help middle-class families and small businesses. Only massive tax cuts for the wealthy, done on the backs of the middle class. Join us weekdays 6 to 8 a.m. and online at upnorthnewswi.com.
Hey, Darcy, I just saw the perfect house. Can you help me write an offer on it?
I'd be happy to, Brian. Did you see it at an open house?
No, I just called the sign and had the agent show it to me. I didn't want to bug you.
Right. How many times have you heard me say don't call the sign?
All of them.
You called the agent working for the seller, and once you see the property with that agent, I'm no longer free to write an offer on it.
So...
You need to hire us from the beginning, help you find the right home, negotiate on your behalf, and protect your interests all the way through the process, and it shouldn't cost you a dime.
Solidarity Realty. They're real, they're solid, and they're honest. Find them at solidarityrealty.com.
10 years ago, we opened with a single location. We had one glass blower, that's me, and a full display of artistically created glass pipes and products. Today, you've helped us grow to 3 successful locations. Ignite Glass and Gifts thanks you for your continued support. We'll be here as long as you need us. Madison's favorite for glass gifts and bait. Ignite Glass and Gifts, Monona Drive, Williamson Street, and Odana Road. 1 solid decade. Man, does that feel good.
Up North News Radio is Wisconsin's new choice for progressive talk about important state issues from the team that brings you the news through social media, newsletters, and here on the radio. I'm Pat Kreitlow. Join me weekday mornings from 6 to 8 a.m.
Warrior, mean stride. Today's Tom Sawyer, mean pride.
60% of the time, they're right every time. The Devil's Advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Tuesday Happy Hour. Dom, it rolls on. Some sad news, though, for Kyle Rittenhouse. He's been trying to hold an activity, Dom. Sort of a fundraiser, get-together, social confab. And people keep canceling on the guy.
I wonder why.
Well, one must speculate, but here is the newest bad news for Kyle. Right-wing activist Kyle Rittenhouse promoted his planned attendance at an event at the Venetian Resort in Vegas. Venetian, that's quite nice. But that Wednesday night appearance has been nixed. You guys aren't going to want to miss out on this one, Rittenhouse tweeted Sunday evening. Rittenhouse excited Sin City's announcement came shortly after a Texas brewery pulled the plug on the 20-year-old gunman who famously killed 2 unarmed men in the 2020 Black Lives Matter protest in southern Wisconsin. A first-come, first-serve open bar was promised on the gun rights flyer. Rittenhouse posted again Monday with further details. But a spokesperson for the Grand Canal Shops PR team at the Venetian told the New York Daily News on Tuesday, "Our tenant informed us that they have canceled the event, and we do not speak on behalf of our tenants." The Venetian's Twitter feed quickly filled with requests to cancel Rittenhouse' visit after it was announced. If you host Rittenhouse, I will never step foot in your hotel again, one of their several would-be customers. Now, that's always, I'd have to cross-reference. Have you ever been to the Venetian before?
Right.
I'm never going to that hotel I've never been to before. I've been to the Venetian. That might be a valid threat. Rittenhouse was acquitted in November 2021 trial when jurors ruled he had acted in self-defense. That was a troubling ruling. He was booked
troubling judge
at the Southern Star Brewing Company on January 26, but the venue canceled that engagement last week, claiming while the brewery is apolitical, it could not in good faith host the event. The brewery thanked the public for supporting its decision Sunday, explaining, "We just want to make beer for all." A little bit more. Las Vegas became the site of the nation's largest mass shooting by an individual in 2017 when a gunman fatally shot 59 victims from his 32nd floor hotel room for unclear reasons. More than 500 people were injured. Well, Rittenhouse only killed 2 in self-defense, according to, the jury, Dom. But can't throw a party. Can't get together with friends. That's sad. It's like he's been judged despite his vindication in the courts.
Yeah, it's weird how when people try to make money off of their murder, that other folks may not want them around. But let's talk about this. These are the poster children of MAGA. Kyle Rittenhouse, right? George Santos, your new rising star. I mean, Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene now back on committees because the Republicans now running the House. This is the face of MAGA, and this is who they present to us as their leaders, and it is crazy.
Well, Dominic, let's not forget another namesake of conservative politics, CPAC's Matt Schlapp. Now, we've been avoiding talking about Matt Schlapp. He has been recently accused of sexually assaulting a Herschel Walker staffer. And we didn't go there. Sometimes even we don't go there. But now there's a lawsuit. And now we feel we must. And there's also a denial of sorts from Matt Schlapp because he's in unbearable pain over the allegations, Tom.
Oh, I bet he is.
CPAC, did we mention the conservative movement, the Republican Party? It's in disarray. CPAC chairman Matt Schlapp on Tuesday finally responded to sexual assault allegations leveled against him by a former staffer for Herschel Walker's failed Senate bid. A statement written by Schlapp's attorney, Charlie Spies. It's always authentic when you have the attorney draft your letter. It's coming from the heart.
Right.
Legal
Yes.
counsel. A statement written by Schlapp's attorney and posted on Schlapp's Twitter account claims the CPAC chief and his family are, and here's a quote, suffering unbearable pain and stress due to the false allegation from an anonymous individual. The statement added that no family should ever have to go through this, and the Schlapps and their legal team are assessing counter lawsuit options. Do you really want to go there? Although the Walker staffer in question so far has remained anonymous, they have been able to back their claims with help of contemporaneous text messages, which have also been corroborated by other members of Walker's campaign staff. The staffer not only informed the campaign of the alleged incident shortly after it happened, but also recorded videos in its aftermath in which he described Schlapp's actions. Now I'm going to read aloud here. Certainly not my goal to titillate, but to describe the alleged assault and the allegations leveled against Matt Schlapp. Here's what he is accused of. Matt Schlapp of the CPAC grabbed my junk and pummeled it at length. And I'm sitting there thinking, what the hell is going on? That person is literally doing this to me, the staffer said. From the bar to the Hilton Garden Inn, he had his hands on me. And I feel so effing dirty. I feel effing dirty. So that was the allegation. And Schlapp, very, very burdened by these allegations against him, Dom. So the lawsuit takes it to a different level because when you talk about anonymous allegations, I can say anything about anyone, behind a keyboard or maybe an anonymous video. But when you go file in the courts, Tom, that really raises it to a different level.
Yes. Yeah, it does.
I mean, most court officers and every lawyer that goes before court is an officer of that court. Most court officers will not file lawsuits without merit. Certainly, they would not allege sexual assault against a guy like Matt Schlapp, who's got lots of financial friends, let's say. And CPAC's a very powerful organization. Nobody goes out there and starts this just because they want to.
Right. And let's not forget, presumably, I mean, this is a staffer from the Herschel Walker campaign. Presumably, this is a conservative, right? And not only that, we have apparently phone calls and texts and records of communications between the staffer and Schlapp after the fact. So there's a lot of other evidence that has been submitted to this case. A little bit from the New York Times. The lawsuit also accuses Mr. Schlapp and his wife, Mercedes Schlapp, who served as Trump's White House Director of Strategic Communications, of defamation and conspiracy, claiming that they coordinated a campaign to discredit the Walker aide and his allegations. Timothy Hyland, the lawyer for the accuser, said in a statement that the lawsuit, which asked for at least $9.4 million in damages, has been filed in part because Mr. Schlapp had not apologized for his despicable actions. Quote, because Mr. Schlapp has refused to own up to his misbehavior, this suit aims to make Mr. Schlapp and those who lie for him accountable for their actions and statements. In his statement on Tuesday, Mr. Spies, who is also representing Ms. Schlapp, accused the Walker aide of working in concert with the Daily Beast to attack and harm the Schlapp family. Well, there you go. Try to drag the Daily Beast into this, get sued again, perhaps. The lawsuit accuses Schlapp of defamation by pointing to Mr. Spy's initial statement that described the accusations as false personal attacks. The lawsuit argues that Ms. Schlapp defamed the Walker staff member by telling neighbors that he had a troubled individual who'd been fired from previous jobs and lying and making false statements on his resume. The message was shared on group text with neighbors, the plaintiff said. The lawsuit says that the plaintiff has not been fired from a job or for lying about his resume. According to the lawsuit, the plaintiff was assigned to drive Mr. Schlapp to a Walker campaign event on October 19th. More details in there. He's a driver. He's a staffer. And, this guy, Schlapp, sexually assaulted him. Pardon me. And we actually pulled some of the sound because the Walker staffer, apparently a couple hours after this happened, probably wee hours of the morning, recorded himself in real time talking about this. And Crudy read some of it, but I want to be clear. It's one thing to hear, Crudy read it or read it in the newspaper. But if you find this audio from this guy, it's traumatizing, man. The guy was sexually assaulted by, according to him, by Schlapp, this super conservative CPAC guy, these family values types. And then what? Then further slandered by his wife, who, of course, now, who I did not know, was the strategic communications director in the Trump campaign. This is mega. Add it to the list of Santos and this Pena guy and the rest of the insurrectionist bastards that are out there and still have waiting for justice for those who actually conspired and organized this entire attack on our Capitol. We still, to this day, are dealing with the reverberations of that. Mega, man, they're doing everything they can to just disrupt this country. That's what it's all about. That's all it's about. They are disruptors. And of course, we're going to have the debt ceiling fight. They're going to try to shut down the government. This is what they want. But I tell you what, I don't know that would actually come to pass. I think there's too many reasonable people. There's too much money the Republicans have invested that they don't want to see their own 401ks and their investments and their donors go broke. So we'll see how much of this is actually grandstanding versus how much of this is going to be a big problem for this country. But mega is the real deal here, man. You got people shooting. Of course, why would we expect anything less? Anything less what we witnessed on January 6th? That has not been fully adjudicated. That has not been entirely addressed. Justice has yet to be served. 2 years later, and we're going on for what, another couple of years? And in the meantime, we have MAGA in control of Congress, or at least on the House side.
You know, Matt and Mercedes Schlapp were considered the Trump it couple. They married while working in the Trump administration, my understanding. And Matt Schlapp's wife engaged in a conspiracy to undermine the sexual assault allegation against him, according to this new lawsuit. Tom, a little bit of the coverage here, because she also plays a part. A longtime Republican lobbyist and American Conservative Union director, Matt Schlapp, engaged in defamation to try and bury a sexual assault allegation against him, and his wife, Mercedes Schlapp, engaged in a conspiracy to help do so, according to a new defamation suit reported on Tuesday by the New York Times. The original allegation, first reported 2 weeks ago, is that Schlapp aggressively and non-consensually grabbed the crotch of a male staffer for Herschel Walker's Georgia Senate campaign, who had been tasked with acting as Schlapp's driver, and that the campaign took the staffer, who has filed anonymously to avoid retaliation, off assignment when he disclosed the assault. Contemporary videos and text messages logged his allegations in real time. Here's a quote, Dom. The lawsuit, filed in the Virginia Circuit Court in Alexandria, accuses Mr. Schlapp of aggressively fondling the man's genital area in a sustained fashion while the two were alone in the car, reported Michael C. Bender. The staff member filed the suit anonymously, citing privacy concerns and fear of retaliation, giving Mr. Schlapp's influential position as the chairman of the American Conservative Union, which hosts the CPAC. Schlapp has vehemently denied the allegations, and the ACU board of directors has signaled they plan to stand behind their man, Dom. Charlie Spies, an attorney representing Schlapp, said in a statement that his client going through unbearable pain over the allegation. The lawsuit also accuses Mr. Schlapp and his wife Mercedes, who served as the Trump White House Director of Strategic Communications, of defamation and conspiracy, claiming that if a coordinated campaign to discredit the Walker aide and his allegations, the lawsuit accuses Mr. Schlapp of defamation by pointing to Mr. Spy's initial statement that described the accusations as false personal attacks. The lawsuit argues that Ms. Schlapp defamed the Walker staff member by telling neighbors that he was a troubled individual who had been fired from previous jobs. I think you noted that as well. But she is not above reproach, certainly on this, Dom. The it couple of the Trump administration. He's been accused of sexually assaulting a male staffer, and she's been accused of conspiring to cover it up. Seems about right, Dom. The Republican Party's in disarray. Come back. More Devil's Advocates. Never in disarray. Always super cool. When you call us at 844-967-2789.
Veterans, whatever you're going through, don't wait. Reach out. Find resources at va.gov/reach. That's va.gov/reach. Brought to you by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and the Ad Council.
Douglas LaFollette, welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show.
Good to be here, Mike. Across the country, in most every state, the Secretary of State is the person who is in charge of the election. And we've seen lots of hanky-panky in Florida back during the Al Gore elections, in Ohio and Georgia and Arizona and Michigan.
We appreciate you coming around, sir.
Check out the entire podcast library at darnwi.com.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad, your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey, why don't you take a minute? When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can. But it's just as important to take time for yourself. AARP can help. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
You are never far away from your favorite radio station. We're always streaming on TuneIn and the Civic Media app. And if you missed your favorite show or game, listen to a podcast of it anytime on the app or our website, civicmedia.us.
Here's your Devil Radio forecast. Lows dip down to about 31 tonight, under cloudy skies, northwest winds 8 to 15 miles an hour. Overcast skies tomorrow, highs level off around 36. Mixed precipitation likely tomorrow night, lows level off around 31. Cloudy skies, 3 to 5 inches of snow tomorrow night through Thursday. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Derek Height. Currently, it's 37 degrees.
Kicking ass and taking names since the Wisconsin Uprising, the Devil's Advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Going to the phones in just a moment, 844-967-2789. Cody, a little bit from the original reporting from the Daily Beast. I want to get this out there, then we'll take the calls. This staffer from the Herschel Walker campaign who was unfortunately tapped to drive Matt Schlapp, the head of CPAC, around and was molested by him, sexually assaulted by him, had this to say from the dailybeast.com. From the bar to the Hilton Garden Inn, he has his hands on me. I feel so effing dirty. I'm supposed to pick this MFer up in the morning and just pretend like nothing happened. This is what I'm dealing with. This is what I got to do. The staffer's communication with the campaign the next day, along with further exchanges with Schlapp, were documented in call logs and text messages, which the staffer shared with the Daily Beast. At 7:26 a.m., Schlapp sent a text saying, "I'm in the lobby." 1 minute later, the staffer called his supervisor, followed by a call with a senior campaign official. The staffer said the senior official was immediately horrified and pulled him off the driving duty, instructing him to tell Schlapp in writing that he'd made him uncomfortable. Right after that call, the staffer sent Schlapp a text. Quote, "I did want to say I was uncomfortable with what happened last night. The campaign does have a driver who is available to get you to Macon and back to the airport," he texted, providing the name and phone number of the driver. "Please give me a call," Schlapp replied, followed by "thanks." Schlapp then called him 3 times over the next 20 minutes, according to phone records reviewed by the Daily Beast. When the staffer did not answer or return the calls, Schlapp sent another text asking him to look into your heart and call back. Here's the quote. "If you could see it in your heart to call me at the end of the day, I would appreciate it," Schlapp text at 12:12 p.m. "If not, I wish you luck on the campaign and hope you keep up the good work." So some interesting circumstantial evidence there, perhaps. I mean, come on, you're texting back and forth, finding your heart to call me back. Why would you have to find it in your heart? I mean, that sounds like guilty words to me. You call the guy, 3 times in 20 minutes plus a couple of texts? That's kind of stalky, kind of, paranoid activity. Like maybe you're guilty of something, Schlapp.
Wasn't that an 80s song? Listen to your heart.
Heart.
844-967-2789. We listen to our callers when they join us. Robert from West Dallas, welcome. What do you got for us?
Hey, Robert.
Hey, guys. I think Dom's characterization of them as disruptors is a little kind. A little bit of charity there.
Well, he can't say what he really wants to say because we're on the radio right now, Robert.
But I mean, if you look at their behavior, right, whether it's holding the government hostage over the debt ceiling or not showing up to work for months or, during January 6th, Lauren Boebert, sending out on social media, 1776, she's all proud of their actions, or this Pena guy, all of these things are consistent. If you look up the definition in the dictionary, using violence to your ends and some of this other stuff, they're all acts of terrorism. And sometimes I just think we give these guys a pass. They're much worse than we cover them in the media, whether we're commenting them on the radio station or mainstream media. They always present them as they're reasonable people. So.
Well, Robert, I want to correct one point. I believe it's a modest misstatement, but it was actually Marjorie Taylor Greene that had tweeted out the 1776 comment. And I recall that because it was her attorney, James Bopp, when they tried to keep her off the ballot, right? Because she was an insurrectionist, and they tried to use the 14th Amendment. And James Bopp, who was prominent in some of the Wisconsin electoral malfeasance, just say, right, he was the attorney to the special prosecutor Michael Gableman, and even he disagreed with Gableman about whether or not it was, sincere to strongly consider decertifying the 2020 election here in the state of Wisconsin. But I think it was Dom's three-toe girl, MTG, that tweeted out the 1776.
I think you're right, Curdy. Boebert tweeted during the insurrection that the speaker had been removed from the chambers. So at least giving a little bit of heads up to her followers, her fellow insurrectionists. What were the Proud Boys or the 3%? What were they guilty of, Curdy? Let's see.
Seditious conspiracy.
There you go. Let's just call it what it was: seditious conspiracy. And for only the foot soldiers to be convicted of this so far is a little frustrating. If this were you and me, Crudy, it'd be on us already. So I'm hopeful. Garland's, or at least I guess Jack Smith now is winding his way through all of this, based on the frantic messages coming out of Donald Trump. I think the heat's getting turned up a little bit.
Dominic, I hate to bring up the office of Alvin Bragg because far too much faith in the man, but I find it notable that Michael Cohen, the former Trump fixer, went and gave testimony at the Manhattan DA's office today. Let me read a little of the coverage from CNN. Michael Cohen, the former personal attorney to Donald Trump, met Tuesday with the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, the clearest sign that prosecutors are zeroing in on the Trump organization's involvement in hush money payments made to adult film star Stormy Daniels. Did I try to lay that at Ron Johnson's feet back in 2017? And he gave me the Sergeant Schultz, I know nothing, I see nothing.
He sure did.
As he arrived at the building, Cohen said he was complying with the request to meet with prosecutors. Called, asked to come in, that's what we're doing, he said. About 90 minutes later, Cohen left with his attorney, Lanny Davis, and said the meeting went very well. He added that prosecutors asked him not to disclose the substance of what was discussed, but Cohen said, it appears I'd probably be meeting with them again. Davis said he believed prosecutors were serious about the investigations. Cohen previously met with Manhattan prosecutors 13 times over the course of their sweeping investigation into the Trump org. Their meeting on Tuesday is the first in more than a year, and the focus of the DA's investigation has returned, what, 5, 6, 7 years later, Tom, to the $130,000 hush money payment made to Stormy, to stop her from going public with an affair. No, I thought he paid her because they didn't have sex. Paid to keep her from going public about an affair with Trump just before the 2016 election. People familiar with the matter said Trump has denied the affair. The district attorney's office has also reached out to Keith Davidson, who represented Daniels in the hush money deal. In recent weeks, he has not been scheduled for an interview. A person familiar with the matter said Cohen was a key player, though, in the hush money scandal. He facilitated the payments and was reimbursed by the Trump org for advancing money to Daniels. Cohen, Michael, pled guilty to 9 federal charges, including campaign finance violation. He's already done 3 years in prison. For what? Extending money on behalf of Donald Trump. If you're guilty for giving Stormy the money and you've been to prison for 3 years, isn't the guy that instructed you to give the money to Stormy and also sign the check, isn't he also probably guilty of something?
Yes. Come on, Alvin Bragg. Say it, Crudy.
Come on, Alvin Bragg. Come on, Badgers. The Badgers got Tyler Wall back tonight. They tip off at about 7:30. Penn State coming to town. You're going to want to listen on Civic Media. WFHR. Just go there. Thanks for listening. Devil's Advocates. We'll do it again.
Hey, this is Matt from Design Garden. Remember when the internet was new? Back then, you had to leave your house to start a business. Companies used to pay programmers bags of cash to get online. Now, small businesses can get online with a Facebook business page, or Squarespace, or Google My Business, or WordPress.